Hello, my name is Meredith Reardon, and this is my presentation for my bibliography about folksonomies. So what are folksonomies? In the simplest sense, they are user-created metadata or collaboratively created tags. Some claim that they are the answer to the need for categorization and classification of the ever-increasing content of the web. The research on this topic is still in its early stages, with most of the work being written within the last 10 years. Some of the earliest discussion and writing about folksonomies come from Mathis and Shirky. Mathis, who wrote Folksonomies, Cooperative Classification and Communication Through Shared Metadata, wrote this informally published manuscript during his time as a graduate student at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. His paper examines user-generated metadata, otherwise known as folksonomies, and its implementation. He details the history of metadata and how it has generally been left to the professionals or content creators. These models either do not have the scalability or are impractical for the amount of information being produced, or suffer from problems such as inaccurate or inadequate description. Folksonomies or user-generated tags metadata provide an answer to this problem. Shirky, ontology is overrated, categories, links, and tags is actually an article written based on a set of talks he gave in 2005. Ontology is overrated is an in-depth discussion in which Shirky argues that today's top-down classification style, like ontologies, is the wrong solution to the problem of web resource classification, and that ontologies are often rife with bias. He claims that ontologies should only be used in highly controlled environments, something the web is not. He believes that the only group that can categorize everything is everybody. This is where folksonomies or user-generated tags come into play. Shirky also discusses the advantages of tagging systems in great detail in his article. In the mid-2000s, we begin to see researchers defining the problem. First, Guy and Tonkin presented folksonomies tidying up tags. This article outlines the problems, challenges, and success of tags. The authors begin with a look at the issue of sloppy tags, or the so-called folksonomic flaw. They proceed to ask if there is a way that the folksonomy community could compensate for these problems. However, the authors are concerned that the tidying up approach has the potential risk of tidying up too neatly, thus losing the qualities that make folksonomies so popular. Next, Peterson gives us, beneath the metadata, some philosophical problems with folksonomies. This article discusses the inherent issues of tags or folksonomies. Unlike her contemporaries, Peterson bases her analysis in the philosophical principles of relativism. She also criticizes the idea that everything on the internet should be organized or classified. Instead, she argues that much of the information being retained and organized should instead be eliminated, ignored, or should be allowed simply to die off. Finally, she argues that the problems and inconsistencies within folksonomies will always persist, and that there is no right or wrong terms for classification in the folksonomic world. In the end, a traditional classification scheme will provide better and more consistent results for information seekers, in her view. In Ontology of Folksonomy, a mashup of apples and oranges, Gruber explores the idea that ontologies and folksonomies are in direct opposition. Instead, Gruber suggests that this is a false dichotomy and that their relationship is more like that of apples and oranges. He describes ontologies as being related to the semantic web and folksonomies as being part of the social web. Gruber states that as the semantic web matures and the social web grows, there is an increasing value in applying semantic web technologies to the data of the social web. Finally, he provides a preview of new work and brings the two ideas together. As the years have progressed, we start to see an interest in special topics regarding folksonomies. Woolwine, Ferguson, Jolly, Pickup, and Udma give us folksonomies, social tagging, and scholarly articles. This article provides a look into the potential role of folksonomies and tagging in the information control of scholarly articles. This article provides a three-part literature review and includes the traditional criticisms of folksonomies and tagging, the revolutionary claims, and the stepwise improvements. Woolwine et al. Believe that folksonomies or social tagging cannot replace other forms of information control entirely. However, they believe that it can play an important role for the discovery of emerging work and can aid in scholarly communication. The Terry brings us the use of folksonomies in public library catalogs. In this article, he explores how folksonomies could be used in public library catalogs, proposing that folksonomies could enable users to organize their personal information spaces. He argues that folksonomies would supplement existing controlled vocabularies. He also believes that they could be used to create online communities of interest. This theory also discusses the benefits and shortcomings of folksonomies, as well as the developments and customizable features of existing library catalogs. Finally, the Terry outlines a research agenda for future study and the direction of folksonomies. Al-Khalifa and Davis provide us with exploring the value of folksonomies for creating semantic metadata. In this article, they explore the values of folksonomy tags as a potential source of keyword metadata. Al-Khalifa and Davis accomplish this by examining the relationship between folksonomies, community-produced annotations, and keyword extracted by machines. This article outlines an experiment that the authors carried out in two ways. First, subjectively by employing human indexers to evaluate the quality of user-generated keywords. Secondly, it was done automatically by measuring overlap between the folksonomies and machine-generated keywords. Their results show that folksonomies more closely agree with the human-generated keywords than those that were generated automatically. The authors argue that because of the likelihood of folksonomies being similar to that of human indexers' mindset, that folksonomies are a potential source for generating semantic metadata to annotate web resources. Finally, Sinclair and Cardew-Hall bring us the folksonomy tag cloud. When is it useful? This article investigates the usefulness of the tag cloud. Sinclair and Cardew-Hall question whether the tag cloud, which is a user interface element that is a visual depiction of content tags, is actually useful as an information finding aid. They conducted an experiment in which they provided participants with the option of using a tag cloud or a traditional search interface to answer various questions. The authors found that when the information seeking task was general, participants preferred the tag cloud. However, when the information seeking task was more complex, the participants preferred the traditional search interface. The research into folksonomies and their usage is still relatively young. However, there is already a great deal of work published. Most of the existing research and writings have been reviews or used data pulled from publicly available sources. There's clearly room for more experimental research to be done on the topic of folksonomies. Overall, it appears that most are in favor of folksonomies or believe that they have some place in the future of web resource categorization and classification. This is not to say that there are not flaws inherent to folksonomies. The research has outlined a few possible solutions to these issues, but it will be years before we are able to judge their outcome.